The fact of the matter is he knew what was going on. And Jesus intended for you to respond to his call, to come to him. He wants you to come as he called Adam and Eve and wanted them to come. He is calling you today. Now listen, you may have already responded to Christ as Savior, but there may be other reasons to come to him. Maybe there's a need in your life. Maybe there's a sin in your life. You need to come to him and confess it to him. Don't hide from him. Listen, hiding from him is what got them in trouble. Well, one of the things that got them in trouble. Listen, if you've committed a sin and now you don't know exactly what to do about it, the best thing to do is, Lord, here I am. Here's what's happened here. I want you to understand, you don't hide from the Lord. Don't cover your sin. Because guess what? It'll happen. The fact of the matter is we need to listen for his call and confess before him any sin that he points out. And listen, he's good at it, isn't he? He knows what's really bothering us. He starts fingering about our hearts, as Brother Gilmore says. He says, God's Spirit is fingering about our heart and touching us where we live the strongest and the best. And guess what? We're still sinful. But he can certainly take his grace and wipe it away. We don't need to offer any excuses. That's the problem with those guys. They did finally say, I ate. But not before they passed the buck a little bit. See, we need to offer no excuses, accept whatever consequences, and let God bring you back. You see, in this case, we have judgment and we have redemption. He's already judged this serpent. He's judged him. He's going to crawl around. I'm going to defeat you. You're going to attack me, and I'm going to defeat you. It is a process of the cross. Verse 16 begins the consequences, the immediate consequences in that day. And to the woman he said, I will greatly multiply thy sorrow and thy conception. In sorrow thou shalt bring forth children, and thy desire shall be to thy husband, and he shall rule over thee. Now, I don't know a lot of people don't like that phrase. The idea isn't that he's your boss, ladies. Your husband is not your boss, but he is the leader. He is the one that leads. God's chosen that to be so. But guess what? He did something to Adam too. He said unto Adam, he said, verse 17, because thou hast hearkened unto the voice of thy wife, and eaten of the tree of which I commanded thee, saying, thou shalt not eat of it. He held Adam accountable. And he will hold us equally accountable for what we do. Praise God, though, he's paid the penalty through Christ. Thou shalt not eat of it, cursed is the ground for thy sake, and sorrow shalt thou eat of it all the days of thy life. Thorns also and thistles, here comes the weeds. It bringeth forth to thee, and thou shalt eat the herb of the field. In the sweat of thy face shalt thou eat bread, till thou return to the ground, for out of it was thou taken. For dust thou art, and unto dust shalt thou return. Death, as we know it, in terms of separation from this life, is a consequence of the sin. Let me tell you something. I don't care who you are until you figure out the relationship to sin and death. You'll never understand this passage of sin. The ultimate consequence of sin is death in this life. Not only this life, but also separation from God. It's like death in the end. When you're separated from this point without God, you come face to face with God without Christ. You face the second death. Yes. In verse 21, we see a special effect, and I think this is most important. Adam also to his wife, the Lord God made coats of skins and clothed them. He's been listening to my preaching sometimes. Where did those skins come from? They came from the innocent animals who had done none of this. Book of Romans chapter 8, Paul didn't need to turn there, but Paul talks about that creation longs till the redemption. Here, let's understand something. The death of these animals replaced our own covering. You know what? This could be the application of this would be is that we try to cover ourselves oftentimes by religious activity or righteous living. Those are by our own hands. But the skins that God provided for Adam and Eve came by the shedding of blood and the death of the innocent for the guilty. Let me point out something to you. This carried on to chapter 4 in the book of Genesis when we find that Cain and Abel, do you remember that story? You know what the story's about? Abel brought a blood sacrifice and Cain brought a grain sacrifice. Abel understood it took innocent for the guilty. Cain didn't think it was that big of a deal. And he did his own thing. One is religion, and the other is a relationship. Let me give you an example from Scriptures once again. The story of King David is a great example of how someone could confess their sin and receive cleansing from God. Now, he had to be called out. You remember, it was over a year later. By the time he had gone through his time with Bathsheba and he committed adultery and then in an attempt to deceive brought Uriah home so that he would be with his wife and they could have a child legitimately, even if it was his. And Uriah had enough honor. He didn't do that. And so he continued his deception. He wrote to Joab. And you know who he sent as the messenger? Uriah. Took that message of his own death warrant. Didn't even open it, handed it to Joab, the commander-in-chief, and the commander-in-chief put him in the foremost of the fighting, and in that fighting withdrew, and he died. So he murdered. He deceived, he coveted, he committed adultery, and he murdered. And he was confronted by Nathan. We see the heart of David in Psalm 51. You can write this down for later. Verses 2 through 4. Verse 5 also is involved in this. But I just want to read them to you. It says, wash me thoroughly from my iniquity and cleanse me from my sin. For I acknowledge my transgression. My sin is ever before me. Against thee and thee only do I sin. You know, this is the first time I recognize that my sin is against God, not against the individual. Now, if I punched your nose, you might object. But my sin is against God, not you. The consequences are against you. And two, I would have sinned against you. The reality is, my sin is against God. And done this evil in thy sight, that thou mightest be justified when thou speakest, and be clear when thou judgest. He knew the sin he had committed was against God. He violated God's law. He knew it was useless to deny his sin because God already knew of it, and there was nothing he could hide from God. We cannot hide anything from God. And if you think you can, you're foolish. He asked God for cleansing, for renewal. He also, you see, he wanted this renewal, and later on he says, if you'll restore the joy of your salvation to my heart, I'll tell sinners, bring them back to your way. Restore. He knew He committed a sin against God, created great suffering for Uriah, the people of Israel, and even his wife Bathsheba by this time. And he had been deceptive and a terrible example. He knew it was useless to hide. And he called upon God to cleanse him. So you call upon Jesus to cleanse you. If you have been hiding from God, I don't know. Maybe you have. Maybe you haven't. I don't know. But I want you to understand. You can't hide from it. You can't hide your sin. You can't hide your transgression. You can't hide what you do, whether it be a simple misspoken word or a terrible transgression as David did. You can't hide. Praise God. Because he wants to offer grace. He wants to offer cleansing. He wants to offer all these things. Like Gehazi. Gehazi was a servant of Elisha and took the money from Naaman, who'd been spared leprosy. He'd been told to go in the Jordan, dip 7 times, brought a lot of money with him. And old Gehazi said, man, he shouldn't get away with that. And he went and got some money and some clothes. And guess what happened? Elisha said, man, did you go and get those clothes? He said, no, I've been right here. And he said, no, you haven't. He said, you got the leprosy in your hand. We'll suffer if we hide. We will suffer if we don't come clean. We will receive perhaps some consequences for what we've done. We will receive and do the things that God has for us to do or go through. But let me tell you something, if you'll confess, if you'll give it to Him, He will offer you in the end grace as He did Adam and Eve. And even Cain. Did you know He gave Cain? He said, you got that opportunity. It's a little bit more complicated than that, but that is one of the parts of that thing that He did. He said, listen, sin lieth at the door. The idea of that phrase is there's an opportunity to confess, opportunity to do it right, an opportunity to offer a pleasing sacrifice. So what did He do? He went out and killed his son, his brother. Hey. He suffered. So we can continue to suffer, and we can take the consequences of where we're at. Listen, there's some folks out here in your area, in your community, and I know Sister Kay mentioned her invitation to others, and they the one. I know some of you have invited others. I know I have. They haven't shown up sometimes yet. Some of them have, some of them haven't. They need this one walking in the darkness. They need this one who shed his own blood so that you and I and they could have a relationship with Him. And you're the conveyor of that process. You're the one who gives that wonderful grace to them. Are you going to say? Are you going to tell us? Come to Him, confess your sin, trust Him, not your selfishness, not your sin. Turn away from your sin. Trust me. Trust my finished work. That's why we remain. That's why we're not taken up to heaven the minute we get saved, you know. That's why we're still here. It's because of Genesis chapter 3 and all that He did. Now the remainder of the chapter says some of the consequences were they were removed out of the garden. 2 cherubim guarded it from them. So folks tried to say whatever that is. They don't know. I don't know what it is, except these couple of angels. God says you keep them out. That's all I know. The consequence of our sin keeps us from the garden. But one day, you and I, because we've trusted Christ, will receive greater things than any consequence. Trust Him today. Confess to Him if there's something that you need. Whatever it might be, we're going to give you an opportunity in just a moment to sing a song.